morning, everyone. Gina coming to you live in the Hive from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, where I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And welcome to today's class. It is Wednesday, August 13th, and we have watercolor for our technique class today. So when you guys pop on, say hello. Oops, I hit a button. Here we go. I think we're good. Moving cameras around. Say hello. I got lots for you guys today because today's class might be a little intense. We've got watercoloring going on, so some people love it. Some people are, I don't know. Some people are like, ooh, this is new, this is exciting, and some absolutely love it. So I've done this class, I should say half of the cards I've done for several events. I did Shannon West, who kind of works with the Great Lakes region here, asked me to do a demo, and I did a demo on it for demonstrators, and it kind of inspired August's technique, because doing that I realized how many people have never even tried watercoloring. So I thought this would be a great opportunity. We haven't done it in a while. I think it's been since maybe February. I think I might have done some watercolor. I don't remember, but it's been a while. So welcome, ladies. Kay's here, Tanya's here. So hello. But while everyone's popping on, I got some new stuff to show you. So we've got some online exclusives. We have holiday stuff. So this is all stuff that is coming your way starting in September. So I just thought I'd give you guys a sneak peek of everything. Tanya, you're interested in learning about watercolor. Well, today we've got lots of it. So I hope I don't overwhelm you guys. And if we're going along the way, please feel free to stop me and ask questions along the way. I know some of it may be hard to see. I'll zoom in as we go along. But for now, I'll show you guys what we got coming up with some of this holiday stuff. So let me see. I've got this kind of all jumbled up a little bit. I kind of just stuck with ordering a lot of fall stuff and just a little bit of Christmas stuff. So let me see what I can show you. I'm so excited. There's such amazing sets coming your way. So I can't wait to share all of this with you guys. Okay. So we've got some great gems, some cool ribbons, some twine. Oh my goodness, all sorts of cool stuff. So we've got two things of twine here. Good morning, Polly. We've got espresso with old olive. We've got black and white with some gold intertwined in it. So beautiful. And these gems. Let's talk about these gems. Oh my goodness. These gems here, these are the streak dots. And they almost, to me, have a wood look to them in a way too. So they're really cool. And then these, I believe, are Cajun Craze gold dots. So they're Cajun Craze with gold speckles in them. Really, really cool. And then look at this ribbon. We've not had, I mean, I guess we have. We've had mesh ribbon, gold and silver. But this is a little bit different and gives a nice rustic, I don't know if you guys can see it better if I put it on here. Kind of a nice rustic, so it's perfect for fall. Ribbon and this beautiful shimmery red ribbon coming your way. So this is just a small sneak peek of what is coming. There's some amazing products coming in the holiday catalog, and as demonstrators, we get to look at everything early. So we're gonna start with some fall sets. So I don't really have this organized, but so we have autumn trees, and it comes with these dies with the tree and the deer, and it has a second hidden set back here for more stuff for your tree, another deer, some of the other images in here. So really, really cool. And I love fall. For those of you that don't know me, probably fall is my favorite season of the year with all the changing of the leaves. So you're gonna see a lot of fall cards coming your way. So we have Amber Autumn. And that comes with this beautiful background die that you'll be able to use. And these cut out these and just a few leaves. And pumpkins, I love pumpkins. So it looks like be 2 stamp on that one, and it comes with these dies here. And look at these leaves. They are gigantic, and I've seen them where they're stitching. They're using twine and going through these holes. So that's going to be really cool too. I feel like there's a stamp set that goes with that, but I'm not sure which one. And then we have this beautiful etched autumn background stamp. Very cool. So that's what we have for kind of autumn stamps coming through, and I think I have most of them. Oh, Gathering Moments, it's what goes with these dies. So lots of fun fall stuff coming your way. And then I just ordered this, but this is available for you already, is, here we go. So excited. Fright Night. And it has these spider webs and Eek and Boo. We're going to have some fun with those, I promise you. And this cute little spider. How exciting. Okay. We have a fall embossing folder. And I don't know how well, maybe this will be better, how well you can see this, but it's just like little oak leaves, and kind of a pattern on here. So that's going to be really pretty to play with. And got a few Christmas stamps. So this I'll be doing for the Escape. So these are a suite together, these two, and this is actually coordinates with the scrapbook workshop that goes with this set. So this set is called, hold on one second, oh, Christmas Greenery and Traditional Labels. I think the whole suite's called Keeping Traditions. So you have this floral stamp set with all of these dies. Look how big these dies are. So we'll do some really pretty things with this. And then this one, all sorts of sentiments with wonderful labels. I love labels, so I'm very excited to play with that. And it comes with a wreath embossing folder. So that'll be fun to experiment with also. But that's, oh, I forgot these gems. Look at these sparkly gems. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to play with everything. I've kind of dabbled in things this weekend, but haven't really gotten into anything. And then, okay, I'll show you the workshop and the stamp set in a moment. So here's some fall paper. We have Gathering Together. And this paper is absolutely stunning. So you have traditional paper on one side, and then it has gold weaved in on the other side. So there's gold weaved into these leaves here. Gold in here is so pretty. A little plaid. This plaid that has gold, some simple espresso, so great, you know, just background paper. Wood, kind of wood grain look a little bit. Some stripes. So there's that. And then we have this one is the Autumn Toil. And this pack's a little bit different. So you get, let's see, 1, 2, 3 sheets of 4 different designs. So we got a little fox here, stripes. Oh, I agree with you, Tanya. This product release is really, they have some really pretty stuff in this upcoming online exclusives and catalog. You guys are definitely going to be excited for the holidays here. And this has just some beautiful fall background and pumpkins and corn. This, I've got some pheasants. So for those of you, these will make some great manly cards. And then just a checkered over here with some autumn foliage. And then probably my most exciting part here is this kind of, I want to call it, they call it earth and tone metallic. It's kind of just like a brass, bronze, a darker brown, copper kind of mix. It's so pretty. Good morning, Connie. And then now we're going back to the traditions of Christmas, or keeping traditions. I don't know the names of all my sets. So This is the DSP, much like the first fall paper I showed you, where it has gold weaved in on one side and solid stuff on the other. So look at this, and there's dies. The dies in there will cut out some of these pieces here. So, and I love that, you know, they use traditional colors, but then they put in that pop of Secret Sea and Pool Party, and I believe maybe Petal Pink might be the other color. So they threw in some other little bit non-traditional colors. So that's really cool about this set. So look at that. Look how pretty all of this is. Oh my goodness. Well, this might be pretty in pink. This looks a little bit brighter than Petal Pink. And like I said, here's your Secret Sea, which I believe is the new black. I believe the dies cut out this floral piece here. So lots of really pretty stuff coming our way. And this is just a small piece of what is coming. Okay, and so along with that coordinates this workshop kit. So this will be one of the workshops that we do. I think I slated it for November, so where we do alternatives. So you can get the kit and do it as is, but I also teach you 6 alternative ways along with 5 cards, and then we'll probably incorporate the stamp set. So all of these wonderful things are coming. Okay, who's ready to watercolor? Christine, do you have my cards over here yet?
I didn't touch it.
Hold on, guys, I didn't grab my cards for today. So they are busy in here shipping things today. So there's boxes and piles everywhere. Okay, so these are our 4 cards that we're making today. I'm so excited to do these with you. How fun. So we've got a little Northern Lights, a sunset. We're going to color an embossing folder, and then we're going to use a block technique. So lots of good stuff coming your way. We are going to make a mess today. So be prepared. Now, a few things that I like to have when watercoloring is I have these little palettes. I got these at a local craft store. I believe I got these at Hobby Lobby. I've had these for forever. They're fairly inexpensive. I don't remember what they were. My daughter had an art party several years back, and you could get like a 10-pack of these for, I feel like, a couple dollars. So very inexpensive. Don't need anything super fancy, and you don't even need this if you don't want to. It's just an option. Then I have, oops, flip you guys back over. These are just some Tupperware that I had. This is what I use sometimes. You could use a coffee mug, a cup, anything you want, as far as just to put water in and rinse your brushes and things like that. And then Stampin' Up! Used to carry aqua painters. They do not carry them anymore. Aqua painters, you put water on the inside and you can squeeze them, and water comes out, and then you have the paintbrush on the other end. But I still use these. I don't necessarily always use the water part. I prefer to dip and things like that. And just paintbrushes. Now, these are just paintbrushes I had. These are paintbrushes that I bought for my daughter, you know, so they're nothing fancy, nothing special. So I have those on hand too. So with our aqua painters, probably I'm going to use 2 of them today. Probably those 2. And a spritzer. Now these we do sell. I believe they're either a 2-pack. I don't remember how much they are, but we'll talk about this when we get to that portion. So at one time we had these for aqua painters, and then they came out with these. Now It's up to you what you like to work with. Now, I have never had any watercolor training. I've never done any painting. Everything I've learned just online. So kind of disclaimer here, how I do it is what works for me, but how you do it at home is what works best for you. So find things that make you comfortable, things that you like, and work with that. I'm just here to give you guys ideas. Open your minds up to watercoloring, and hopefully you will take the leap and experiment at home.
There is no right or wrong way.
What's that?
And there is no right or wrong.
Yes, there is no right or wrong way to do this. And I can tell you, you can do this 100 times with watercoloring, and 100 times they will all look different. They will never look the same. So one thing I can probably tell you, just having done some of this recently, is be patient with yourself, give yourself grace. Some people love it, some people are like, it's okay. It's a work in progress. The great thing about watercoloring is you're not looking for perfection with watercoloring. Watercoloring to me is very fluid. There's not straight lines and straight angles and, you know, things that have to be absolutely perfect. So work with yourselves and just give yourself patience and grace. That's, I guess, what I can say there. So let's see what I got here. We've got our painters. So whether you want to use brushes or aqua painters, I believe you can get aqua painters at your local craft store also. I think I've seen them at Hobby Lobby. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure you could probably look on Amazon too. So today I want to work with one that is wider. I find like this is easier for bigger spaces to use the wider one. And then I'm going to use, I've got different sizes here, sorry. Then I got one it's fatter, but it's a little bit thinner, a little more pointed. So those are the two that I'm going to use. And let's see, as far as your inks go, there's different ways you can do this. You can put re-inkers in your palette here, which we'll do some of that today. You can squeeze your ink pad. You have to squeeze fairly hard, so not just a tap, but you have to actually squeeze it, and then ink will well up in here. It is not my favorite to do that. A lot of people do that. That's their favorite thing to do. Keeps everything in one place. I find a lot of times, sometimes I add a lot of water in here, things get drippy and it gets messy, and when I close, then you know that water goes into my ink pad more, and I often then will take a paper towel and I will wash the inside of this out, and I found that paper towel sometimes leaves fibers in there, and then the fibers go into your ink pad. So that is why it's not my favorite, but a lot of people love to do it that way. So that's just another option. And the other option that you will see me do today, and as we go on, is I actually just dip my acrylic block right in my ink pad and use the ink right on my block. So lots of different ways to use your re-inkers, your ink pads to do watercoloring. Now, one thing you want to have for sure when doing watercoloring is you want to use watercolor paper. You do not want to use our basic cardstock for watercoloring. Let's say our basic white cardstock, if there's too much water on it, it will start to bubble up and actually kind of start to fall apart and kind of pill and do things like that. You don't want that to happen. Watercolor paper is made to withstand and hold water. So keep that in mind. And also one other thing you might want to have on hand, if you have time to do things and set things aside and let them dry, that's great. If you don't, you guys are going to see me. I'm going to use the heat tool today, so I'm just using what we'd use like for embossing cards. You'll see me use that. Okay, so our first card is, we'll start off with this one here. This is our sunflower card. So this is our card that we're doing here. I'm going to put all of my pieces to make my card I'm gonna set that all aside. And I also like to have paper towel on hand. That helps keep the mess down a little bit. And I also like to use, this happens to be one of my kids' bibs when they were little, but a dirty rag or a rag or an old towel or something like that, to either clean up spills or get a lot of the moisture or ink off of my brushes. Okay, so I'm making a little room. We're adding a little water to our dish. So we're going to use Daffodil Delight. Just put a drop in there. Pool Party, Old Olive, and Crushed Curry for this card. Oh, and Pecan Pie. We're going to use the ink pad of that. I'm going to put my this is my Crushed Curry. So we're going to do that. We're going to switch it around. My dark color's over here, my light color's there. My green. Okay, and so for this one, I'm going to use my thinner brush here. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for you guys, so hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to put a little drop of Pool Party. Okay, so I'm going to start off by getting my brush nice and wet. And then I'm just going to go in here and add a little water to my daffodil. So I want a lighter version of my daffodil. Get a little shadow here. Okay. Now what I like to do, now I'm starting with the petals of my flower. And I'm going to get them wet. Okay. I'm going to go in here now. And when you just tap this like that, after you've gotten your flower petals wet, the color will spread all on its own. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera, but it kind of, you can see it kind of picking up the veins here. Now I'm going to take my daffodil and I'm going to bring it all the way up. And I'm okay. There's going to be light spots and dark spots. I'm okay with that. So I'm going to do that on all of my flower petals. Now I found that doing my flower petals was the easiest. I'm going to dry them and then we'll go through and do some of the other colors. Okay. Oops. Need to wet. And don't be afraid. You can do dry on dry, but I like to do wet on wet. I feel like I can spread my color and move my color easier when it's wet. If you lay down color and you want to remove it, it's harder to do when it's on there dry. So now I'm just going through and taking that daffodil, coloring some of my petals, dabbing it on. Okay, and I'm going to do that on my other flowers that I have here. But before I move on, because this flower is wet, I'm going to take a little bit of my Crushed Curry over here. And and look at this. I don't know if you guys can see that, I think. And I'm just tapping it down in here, and it's picking up the different parts of the embossing folder, and it's spreading all on its own. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing any painting or anything like that. I am just laying down a little bit of this color and letting it just do its own thing. Now you could absolutely take this and spread it up and do things like that if you want. Now I can go through and I can pick up some of that color now and just push it up a little bit. But I'm kind of wanting to keep most of that darker color towards the center of my flowers. So that's all I did, was just tap that darker color around and let it work its magic. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my next flower up here. We're going to get it wet. And I should have showed you guys the embossing folder I'm using. This is an online exclusive right now. I brought it. It's a nice big giant folder. So it's these sunflowers here, super pretty. Mary, does Stampin' Up! Sell watercolor paper? Yes, they do. They come in a pack of 10, I believe, and the size is a 5x7, so it's a little bit different than your traditional paper. It's definitely a thicker paper. So this is a half a sheet of paper that I'm using. Okay, so I'm going to go through, grab my daffodil again, and just tap it. And if I want a little more water to lighten it, if my color is too dark, let's say your color is too intense and you don't like that. You know what I can do? I can go through and I can lift that. So I just lightened it. It was still wet, and I lightened it by just picking up color using my towel here or paper towel, whatever you have. And then I'm just gonna pull some of that daffodil right through. Now a lot of you didn't know, I should say, what I found out when I was presenting at a demo event, was that a lot of you didn't realize that our inks are watercolor. So they're water based, so that's why we can use our ink pads to do this. Okay, now I'm going to go through with my crushed curry and add that little bit of darker color, and you guys can see it's kind of just feathering up into the embossing folder. So the embossing folder for this one really does give it a lot of texture. I think the rest are all like green leaves there. It's kind of hard to tell. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this one now. This is my final flower. I'm going to get it all wet. So for those of you who want kits, just know that your emboss piece, I can emboss two pieces at the same time, your emboss piece will look not necessarily the same as mine. So some got one side of the embossing folder and some got the other side. So just be aware of that. Taking that crushed curry again and letting it add some depth. Now if you wanted to, this is too much for you, by adding 2 colors of yellow, that's okay. You could just do 1 color of yellow. You don't have to add 2 colors of yellow. And if you didn't want yellow, you could do pink. We know sunflowers come in multiple varieties and different colors, so feel free to experiment with different colors. And I see, I think, the start of a flower down here, so I'm just gonna color that in. Might have a little bit up here. And I'm gonna do, it's kind of your interpretation on some of these flowers, whether they're leaves or if they're part of the petal. Okay, so now I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to dry this. And when you dry this, you want to heat on both sides so that the paper dries through thoroughly. Okay, so just those few seconds there with your heat tool. And now that you see that it's dry, you could add more color if you wanted to. If you feel like, oh, the spot got too dark and I want to lighten it, all you would have to do is add some water to it and take your paper towel and lift that off. But I'm happy with it, so we're gonna go with it. So I'm gonna move on to doing my leaves. And I'm doing these in stages, and I wanna dry because I don't want my colors to bleed together. If you let your colors bleed together, you're gonna get mud, and we don't want mud. We want pretty flowers, right? So once again, I'm gonna wet my leaves and then just dab in my color, pull some through, pick up more to add light and dark areas. I don't know about any of you, but I find watercoloring, or just coloring in general, to be very therapeutic. Now, Chris would not probably say that, would you, Chris? Oh, she's not in here right now.
I wouldn't say that either.
Diane agrees too. She's like, eh. But I do. We had a craze there for a while. I don't remember if that was before. It had to be before COVID. Kind of the adult coloring books were the big kind of thing. So I did a little bit of that for a while. That was something my daughter and I would do together. We'd sit and color while watching a movie or something. Chris loves to color.
Like
Did
one-
you guys hear that? Like
one
I
thing.
told you when she was out of here she doesn't like to, but now you
like
guys
to
got the
color.
true reaction of
I like to color like one thing.
yeah,
and
she
then I'm
was
good.
she's good. She's like, I'm
I don't
done.
like to color 10 of one thing.
Right. When we would design together, if there was any coloring involved, she passed that right to me and she's like, here you go. I'll write the notes, or I'll do anything but color. I'll do die cutting, any of that stuff. Okay, so we're just coloring our leaves. This is Old Olive. Like I said, you don't have to go through and add color so it's dark and light. You just color it one solid color. That can be enough too, especially if you're new to this. Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't, you know, I'm not necessarily, you know, I'm just kind of moving my brush around, and if you get a little green on your yellow, that's okay. It's watercolor. I feel like watercolor, you can do that with. Watercolor is, your colors are meant to kind of go together. See how those veins pick up like that? I think that's so cool. I could sit and probably watch that all day. I think that's just awesome. And then I got some over here. And I'm okay, like I said, sometimes there's a little white space between the two colors. I'm okay with that. Nobody is looking, nobody knows that maybe you left that on purpose, or that you missed it, or whatever. Tanya, you like to color with, do you like the markers or do you like the blends? Which is, do you the regular Stampin' Write markers or the blends? Which are your favorite? I love the blends. Those are my, and I think because you can add dimension with those, you know, you can add that light and dark and add a little bit of shading, and it's so pretty. Yes, Tanya, I totally agree too. That watercolor is forgiving. Like I said, if you think something is too intense in one spot, you can keep lifting. You could lift it almost all the way off if you wanted to. And you can make these as intense as you want them to be. You can keep it really light and keep it more pastel-y, or you can keep these dark and bold and moody and you know, as I sit here and I tap, you got to remember too that you can have light and dark. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just tap, tap, tap. And I think I have a piece here that was maybe supposed to be yellow. Not sure, but we'll paint it yellow. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to take my block. While my green is drying, because that's over here, we're going to do the center of our flowers. So I'm going to just take my block, this pecan pie. I'm not going to put a lot of water in here. I want this to be a little bit bolder. I want my brush wet, definitely, and I'm going to wet that area. But you don't want, one thing you want to make sure, especially if you're looking for details here, is you don't want to put too much water. Now, I say water is your friend. It is your friend, definitely, with watercoloring. But when you're trying to do a smaller space like this, you just don't want your color to be pooled in here, and then it'll spread into your flower petals and stuff. So now I'm not necessarily picking up more water. I am, and actually you guys just saw me, I wiped my brush. I want this color to be a little more intense. And I'm just dotting it on here, letting it fill in. Okay, I'm going to do that on this bigger one. Might need a little more water. So, you know, this is one thing, you know, playing with water and how much color, that's something that you have to play with too, as far as getting the feel of it. So if you've never done watercoloring, by all means, just get out some paper and just start moving color back and forth on your paper, just to get the feel of how it moves and the intensity of your color, things like that. gonna clean that off. Now we have our pool party, and I'm just kind of putting some blue in there for the background. You don't have to. If you want to keep a white background, go for it. But I wanted to fill that space with a little more color. So now, and I'm gonna dump this water out because it's turned pretty yellow. And put some fresh water in so that my pool party, that's one thing that you do have to be aware of, is your colors mixing. What color will they turn? Now if our yellow and green mix together, you're just gonna get a warmer shade of green. But if we have pool party in yellow, you're not gonna really see the blue come out in the pool party. It's gonna turn more green. So just be aware of that. So make sure your brush is clean. And even one thing you'll notice, and I'll be changing out my paper towel, is if you were to go take and wipe on your paper towel, just be aware you went over your brown here, and if you go dip it into your blue, you're going to pick up that color. So just be aware of where you're wiping things also. So I'm going to pick up that blue. I've watered it down quite a bit. And I'm just going to fill in any white spaces that are coming through. I need a little bit more color. How many of you watching have experimented with watercolor? Has anyone played much with watercolor? And remember too, you can always start off light and then go add more color as you go along. I don't know if you guys can see, but my water is pooling. I must have a little more water over here. So I'm just going to take my towel here and pick up some of that. Too, once again, if you have a towel or something like that, just be aware of what colors are on there and that you're picking up. I'm just kind of going through and just dotting it around. I like light space, dark space. I don't need it to be necessarily one solid color. I feel like that's how watercolor is. You've got dark spots, light spots, kind of different than acrylic, where acrylic you tend to get more of a solid color. So I'm happy with my blue there. Now all you have to do when you want to clean your blocks off is I wipe them off on paper towel and just rinse it under the sink, and they come clean just like that. So they're super easy. Now I want my centers of my flowers to be just a little more intense. So now that it's had a chance to dry just a little bit, I'm going to go through and just dot in the center, because I feel like when you dot it, how does the sunflower look? It has all its little seeds in the middle, right? So you guys can see I've got some white space in there. That's okay. Oh, I wouldn't say I'm a pro, Mary, but I do enjoy it, so thank you. So there you go. So we just watercolored our beautiful sunflower. I'm going to dry it. I'm going to rinse these out so that we can use them for another card. and we'll finish putting our card together. Good thing Chris has a sink right here that's nice and handy for me.
It was an afterthought in the design process.
Yeah, afterthought was a great thought.
We're wishing we had a bathroom too.
We would have been running all over the place. It would have been a hot mess. And it is much more work and more expensive to do it after the fact than to do it when you have it in the plans already. And okay, so I'm going to dry this with my heat tool. Now if you were at home, you could just let this sit and air dry. Come back to it later. And remember, you want to do front and back of your paper. Set my paper towel to the side. There we go. So now we're going to bring in our pieces for our cards. So we have a crumb cake card base. Burnish our edges here. You have a piece of Pool Party. Let me zoom back out a little bit. And you have this strip of DSP. You're going to lay your strip of DSP down. And I kind of want the same amount top and bottom and on the left hand side. So whatever is centered in the middle, you kind of want to just roughly eyeball that on the edge, okay? So we got like 1/8 of an inch background. Now we're going to take our floral that we just colored and do the same, making sure to leave that nice border. Now if you find that your paper is kind of rippled up and stuff, you could set a book on it. Okay, then you have a piece of linen thread. You're going to fold it in half. You're going to wrap it around. So I just take a piece of tear tape like this. That's going to go on the other side, and it's going to go between this seam here. I make it look so easy. It really is easier than you think, but we are our own worst critics. That's one thing I definitely saw in this class, having done it twice now, is we are our own worst critics. You know, we expect perfection, and you know, like I said, some people are like, oh, I don't like that white space, I got to get that. It's okay to just let it be. And you, like I said, you don't have to use multiple colors if you don't want. You could keep it more simple. I keep looking for the garbage can. It's missing again today. I think Miss Janet has it out there. So then this is going to go on your card base like that. Oh, I didn't even know the sunflower embossing folder. I was just told that this was out of stock for a while, but it is back in stock.
It
So,
was on low inventory.
oh, it was on low
Like
inventory. Well,
yesterday, it went back on low, I think it went back on low inventory.
oh, it might be back on low inventory. So if you guys want this embossing folder, get it in your cart sooner rather than later. Okay. So I brought in some sunshine vibes. I liked the sentiment for this. I just felt the sunflowers and stuff. The sentiment spoke to me. So sending good vibes. And I thought this was a perfect card for sending good vibes. So we've got a piece of pool party here, and we're gonna stamp pecan pie on it. Now, if you don't have the sentiment at home, pick any sentiment you want. Okay, so I put sending good vibes. And some people in my classes, they didn't want to cut things down. I cut this down, and I'll show you how I did that. So they just put it on like that. That's fine. Do whatever works best for you. Do I have other videos showing my watercoloring? Yes, I do. I've done watercoloring a couple times. I want to say maybe 3 times in the last year and a half to 2 years. So there are videos out there. So I am just bringing in the little trimmer here, and I'm going to cut. Oh, I cut this really close. Okay, maybe you don't want to cut it that close. See, I make mistakes, guys. You just roll with the punches. Okay, so we're gonna re-stamp this, and maybe it won't be so close to the edge. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Whew, I almost cut my whole sentiment off on the other side. All right. So maybe we'll keep the trimmer at bay. So all I did is I fussy cut this. I cut between my words. I just had a lot of excess before, so I thought that would be easier. And these aren't going to be perfect straight lines. Okay, so cutting each word out. Carrie, it's good to hear that you are going to go try some watercoloring. Yes, experiment, play. There's all sorts of different, there are a ton of different ways. There's cards where people have used like salt to get a different background look on there. Using, I've used like an acetate sheet and blotted some watercolor, so I have blotches on there. One technique I wanted to show you, but we didn't really have, I guess I didn't have the right stamp set to do it with, but to spritz your stamps with water after you've inked them up and get a watercolor image from that. That's really cool too. Okay, so now we have our pieces here. I'm gonna cut this one down just a little bit. And I want to pop these up. Now, I've had a few questions that people who are local would like to take this class in person. If you are local and you are interested, reach out to me. I would do, if I have enough people that I can get together to do an in-person class, I will definitely do this class in person. So we've got our sending good vibes. We'll bring in a glue dot. For our bow, and then I have some fresh butterflies. There we go. How pretty is that? Okay, and then for our inside, thank you, Tanya. Now, does this give you fall vibes, everyone? I feel like sunflowers give me fall vibes. I know they're more of a, you know, kind of a later summer flower, but I do feel like sunflowers give me that. I think it's the color of them. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my old olive, and I've got that leaf stamp from this. And I'm going to stamp it once, slide it over, and stamp it. Actually, I'm going to stamp it off, because what happens is, see, when I stamped this, because I had some of it on and some of it off, you got dark spots and light spots. So what I'm going to do is ink it up, stamp it off, and then go back in here and just fill in that space a little bit more. And I'm going to leave a sentiment off of it, because I feel like this card could be used in multiple ways. It can be a thinking of you card, it could be a get well card, a happy birthday card. It can be all sorts of things. Okay, so card number one done. Da, da, da. And of course, you go through and you wink and style up your sunflowers. Oh, it looks fabulous. Okay, so we'll clean up this mess so I can make a mess all over again. So we're doing a lot of that today. I'm making messes, cleaning them up. Okay, what card do we want to see next? I know some people are dying to see the Northern Lights. And then I think the other two cards, a little bit simpler cards to do. So if you're a beginner at watercoloring and you're wanting to just play and experiment, I think the other two cards are just that little bit easier. So I've got my water. Okay, we'll do the Northern Lights one here. Now this is my interpretation of Northern Lights. This is what I found was easiest for me, and probably the easiest to replicate. But if you look up the Northern Lights, like just Google images, man, nothing looks the same. So keep that in mind, that every time you do this card, it's gonna look slightly different. And I have some samples here of things that I played with, that some I loved, some I didn't, you know. So here were a couple of my first attempts, and I was like, I don't like this. It wasn't feeling it. And now I feel like I could go back and add some different color, and I think I would get to where I would like these backgrounds. I was like, ugh. But I walked away from it, and I came back, and then I came back and I did these two. And I'm like, oh, okay. These aren't bad. These are kind of cool. And then it was to replicate it on a bigger scale. So that was a little bit trickier in how to kind of get my, you know, the Northern Lights have that kind of that streaky look to it. So it was like, how do I get that look to it? So that's what we're going to do.
You did a really good job. If you do that class in person, I want to take it.
You want to take it? Okay,
There are a
so
lot
I
of
think I
other
have
people.
3 or 4 people that like want to take this class because I think Northern Lights was a big hit. that was like kind of threw people kind of over the edge just a little bit. Was like, oh. Okay, so I'm gonna bring in some clean paper towel. Okay. I have my card going this way. So my colors for this are going to be Azure Afternoon, Shaded Spruce, Gorgeous Grape, and Night of Navy. Okay? And I'm going to bring my blocks in. So this is where I'm inking up my blocks. And this is where, like originally, this is how you can pool water. So I have ink in here, but like I said, I don't like it. I can see, I don't know up close if you guys can see, but I can see little fibers in there from my paper towel. And that's why I choose not to usually do it this way. Okay, so here we go. Are we ready? This one I'm going to use my wide brush and I'm going to use my thinner brush, but mostly my wide brush. The first thing we want to do is get our paper wet. Not dripping wet, but just wet. Maybe there's a term for this, but I kind of like want to say it's priming your paper. It's getting it ready for watercolor. And I'm going in both directions just to make sure that I am not pooling my water. Now I'm going to start with my purple. Here we go. Tapping my brush in. And now the Northern Lights kind of has that sweeping motion, so I'm kind of doing that with my brush. I'm kind of giving it not an S pattern, but a little bit of an S shape. So I'm going to start up here kind of in the corner. And I'm going to kind of just drag it like this. So I'm using the side and then bringing my flat side. So I'm using the end here on the side, and then I'm turning my brush to get a wider look. So I can get a thinner look if my brush is turned this way, and get a fatter look going this way, okay? Now it looks a little dry, so I'm going to add a little more water. Okay, then I'm going to go through and take some of this and put some intense purple in here. And I'm just kind of lightly, my brush is barely touching. And I'm just using the very top of it. And now, as we do this, you're first going to look at this and go, I don't know about this. Trust the process, okay? Patience and the process. Okay, so my brush is clean. I'm going to go through, add some of my shaded spruce. Now, shaded spruce is really intense, so make sure you add. I want to start off more on the lighter side. So I'm going to wipe some of it off because I want some of that lighter green in here, and then we're going to add some intense green. Now I'll go through. I'm just kind of using a sweeping motion. And I am leaving a little bit of white space between, because if your green and your purple mix together, guess what? You're going to get a really ugly color. How do I know? I experimented. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of my azure. And I got a little bit of green because my water's green, but I'm okay with that. It's okay if you're blue. Like I said, I'm just kind of making like little S patterns in here. And I want to add just a little more, I think, purple down here. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to go through and add some blue. So we're adding our azure. And it's okay if your purple and your blue mix because they'll make a really pretty color. Like I said, I'm using a really light touch. I'm not pressing down my brush, I'm just doing a light touch. And this little spreading that you're getting here with the green, I should probably zoom in just a little bit for you guys. I don't mind that. You don't want to add too much water. If you get too much water, it's going to pull like that. But that little bit of spreading like that, that to me reminds me of the Northern Lights. Okay? I'll move this up just a little bit. And I want to add a little more green on the bottom. So I'm kind of making I guess, a little bit of a rainbow in a way. See, I really like that bold streak. I'm going to go through and add, and they don't have to connect. They can be separate. I'm going to do a little bit more with the purple here. See how I've got some light and some dark in there? There we go. And that's okay that I've got some white space there. Okay, so now we have that, right? This is where I'm going to bring in my Night of Navy now. And I'm going to use my smaller brush and my big brush. I kind of get all of this, in case I want those, out of the way. We're gonna bring our Night of Navy in. Okay. I'm gonna go through this is where I'll use my bib more because I'm going to use some pretty intense color here. Add a little bit of water. Now I want this color to be intense, so you don't want to dilute your Night of Navy too much. And I'm just going to kind of go around. I know this is scary. And I'm going to feather in this Night of Navy. This is using my fat brush here. And I'm starting off on my paper towel. I'm kind of just brushing it in. Along the edges, and I want my edges darker. So I'm going to go through and just tap it in. Your fingers will get totally messy. Embrace it. And I'm just kind of tapping this color in. It's going to feather down on its own. I'm going to feather it kind of in on the side. I'm wanting this dark navy blue to kind of produce a shadow, I guess, on the outside here. I choose to do like a flicking motion just because of, I guess that flicking motion kind of reminds me of the Northern Lights here. I'm going to go through. I'm running out of ink here, and I think I grabbed, did I grab my Night of Navy? Re-inker, I did. So since we're using so much blue here, ooh, that might be too much blue. We're gonna have blue going on. Okay. So just be aware, this is gonna be really intense now. And it's gonna be kind of scary, but add a little water, dab it off your brush. Do that flicking motion. Tap, tap, tap in the corners with some intense color. Go around your edges. Add some water, do a little flicking. I'm gonna have probably some more fingers by the time I'm done with all this. Okay, so I've got that darkness around the edge, right? Now, I'm gonna start bringing it in. Oops. I'm gonna start bringing it in. So it looks kind of scary, right? We've got all of this looking like this. Probably wore the wrong color shirt today. Let's hope I don't get ink on me. So now, I'm going to start flicking some of that color all the way through. And some of it will meet, some of it will not. We'll have white spaces, and I'm just using the tip. And I'm feathering this so I really didn't add any color to my brush. I'm just using whatever is damp on here and just kind of almost dry brushing it almost. Where my brush is damp and it's just picking up some of that color. Now I want a little more azure, I know, in this corner. I want to pick up some of this lightness. I'm going to take my paper towel, or my towel here, and just kind of lighten it in through there. Like I said, I'm just taking that brush and I'm flicking it to soften the sides here. Okay, so now we've got that. Like I said, I'm taking the tip of this flat, holding it up and down, and just flicking, okay? And that is how I've softened this edge, and you're getting that Northern Lights, I feel like, appearance. Real light touches along the edges. Now, I'm gonna take my thin brush here, and I want to make a few really kind of intense blue lines kind of going through here. So I'm just going to take and real lightly I'm barely touching my paper and flicking it. And bring it in over here. Almost flicking where there's almost nothing. Okay, so just that little bit like that. So the flicking motion, I feel, is what gives you that look. And like I said, each time you do this, it's going to be completely different. Now, one thing I do want to do, I'm going to go through, I want to lighten up just a little bit of this green area. I want it just a little bit lighter. So this is called color lifting. So there we go. Here's our card. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna clean up our mess a little bit. Karen, hello, you're late to the party. You had an appointment and a little grocery shopping. Wow, we've only gotten through one card completely, so you are not too late. Okay, so I'm drying off my box. We're gonna get this water out of the way. I should probably close up my ink pads. Okay. Now you're going to bring in your white, your Whisper White re-inker, and put a little dab. Now remember, your Whisper White's a much thicker ink. And first I'm going to dry this, so I'm going to hit this with the heat tool. Dry both the front and the back. So as you're drying this, the paper will curl, and that's another reason to dry both from the front and the back. It'll curl it one way, then it'll curl it the other way, and it'll get a little bit flatter. And if you feel like they're too rumply after the end and you've got time to let it sit under a book or a stack of paper pumpkins or your computer, whatever, Okay, so then kind of decide which way do you want up, which way do you want down. You know, some of this is going to be covered by mountains and stuff, so I think I like that right there. And now I'm going to bring in just a different paintbrush, just because after using this, after using the white, I would want to wash this with dish soap, just because your white is a little bit stickier. So just take a little bit of your Dawn dish soap and clean your paintbrush or aqua painter or whatever it is that you want to use. So I'm going to take and dip this in here. Now you don't want to water it down too much. I just watered it down a little too much, so I'm going to add some more. Okay, this is where the mess happens. Chris did not hear that, okay? So I'm covering my workspace just a little bit here. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this in. I added just a tiny bit of water, not a lot. You're gonna flick on, you're gonna make some stars in the sky. Now, if you add too much water to your white, they will not look white. It'll end up being white splatter or water splatters more or less on your paper. And you want that white starry sky look to it. So I'm gonna add a little bit more. And I'm just using the end of a aqua painter here. I could get my fingers all dirty and flick it with my fingers, but trying to save the mess here. Okay, all you do, rinse this all off. In my case, stick it in the magical sink back there. Okay, so that's done, that's done. Now we get to put our card together. So we have a piece of gorgeous grape. Oh, my hands are still wet. Make sure your hands are dry before you put your card together. We're going to take our wink of Stella and Stella up our trees. Because I feel like they need to sparkle in the night, right? Okay, so this piece is going to go on top of your Night of Navy. And I maybe use a little more glue on this when I put it right in the middle. You're not supposed to do that. Don't put glue where you've got an open hole or you'll have glue everywhere. I think I was supposed to cut off some of my watercolor paper. I think this piece was a little big and I remember cutting it, but that's okay. So you may need to trim on your kits. You may need to trim a little bit of your watercolor paper off. Karen, if you're watching, I have your kit here at the Hive. So if you're in the Hive anytime soon, I put my other stuff on first. Okay, hold on a sec. I gotta regroup myself here. Okay, we gotta put our mountains on first. They're here in the Hive, just so you are aware. Okay, so put glue on the bottom. And I'm gonna pop up the top of my mountains. So like that. Wipe off any glue that you have excess running through there. Now you can put your ribbon across your mountains. Okay. So when you watercolor, note to yourself that you may get messy, so don't wear a nice shirt and your fingers will be minor blue. Now we can adhere this to our card base. So remember how scary it kind of looked when it was just sitting there? Now that you're putting all the pieces together, it doesn't look so scary anymore. Okay, we're gonna pop up our trees. So Karen, I will be seeing you on Sunday for the $1 Million Party. Is there anyone else on here that will be at the $1 Million Party this weekend? Anyone, anyone? Now that I popped up the top of my mountains, I'm gonna add a second dimensional on the tops of my trees so that it looks like they're more level. Because I have pops up here, so you kind of want to double duty your, there you go. And we have our little label here that we will stamp, thinking of you. In Gorgeous Grape. Brought in Simply Said. It's probably one of my favorite stamp sets. Has a little bit of everything in it, so it's one of my go-to stamp sets. And I'm not going to stamp a sentiment on the inside, but we have our Scenic Adventures, and we're going to stamp a tree. And because I'm making a mess, bring in a scratch piece of paper. I'm going to do my trees in Night of Navy. And I'm going to do one full strength and lower it a little bit and do a second strength tree. Fill in that bottom part there. So that can go on the inside. Then we're gonna use, now this is twine, it comes in a 3-pack. It has azure, strawberry slush, and shaded spruce. Not shaded spruce, shy shamrock. I love twine, you guys. So I'm just gonna take and I'm gonna weave this back and forth. Like that. We'll pop it up. So we'll put that down here in the bottom, and then check these out. These are new also. So we have a new set, which I didn't get, but this is where Northern Lights got inspired. We have kind of a Northern Lights set DSP that came out, and it has some trees and mountains and different things like that. So that's where that kind of got inspired to do a Northern Lights, and my one of my teammates had suggested she'd like to see Northern Lights. So that's kind of where that all came. But in that set, so there's DSP and dies in a stamp set, and it has these really pretty gems in there. So we're gonna add these gems. So you've got a pink, does it say what colors? Doesn't say what colors these are, but it looks kind of like balmy blue, pretty in pink. It looks like it's a muted version of colors, I feel like. This to me, it looks like Gorgeous Grape, but just muted. So really, really pretty. Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my goodness. So there we go. The 2 hard cards are done. So like I said, when you do watercoloring, each card is going to look different. And look at, they're similar, but they're still different. So no matter how much you try to replicate, they will look slightly different. But there we go. Okay, the next 2 cards are a little bit easier. So if you are wanting to try watercoloring but a little bit nervous, these cards will be a little bit easier and maybe a little less scary. Hi Michelle, how are you? The purple card base as the accent. I know purple is like, I put green at first, but I thought the purple just really went with it. You're flying in from Pennsylvania, and you'll be able to meet the crew. How exciting! Oh, you're taking Chris's class that day too, so you're gonna be a busy lady. You're gonna be stamping and partying with us. How exciting! Well, I look forward to meeting you, Michelle. That'll be so much fun. Okay, our next cards. This one's kind of fun. This is not how this card was intended originally. My original plan. So, you know, when people say, oh, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I have a plan sometimes in my head, but, you know, sometimes I take a different path. And that's what happened with this card. A lot of times I see cards online and I look at them and I go, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's so simple and beautiful. And then I just try to do simple and beautiful, and I feel like I need more layers and I need to do more stuff. So that's kind of how this came about. Originally, so this is going to be like block stamping. So this was my original piece, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a moment. But this was my original intention, and then was to stamp probably in Secret Sea, because that's the new black, like a flower or the butterfly or something over the top of this, and have a white card base, or maybe just a colored base with it, and a little ribbon and a label, and color good, because I see cards like this. And actually Stampin' Up! Just posted where they did this block stamping yesterday. They put out a thing, and cards look great, beautiful, but I couldn't just leave it like that. I put it together and I was like, ugh. So then I flipped it over and I used our largest block. I think that's the F block, and I put ink on it, but I didn't, I liked it, but I didn't necessarily, I don't know. I loved it, but I didn't love it. I needed something different. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I went back to the block stamping. I'm like, well, maybe if I do my block, because my husband did not like the green. He's like, that looks boring. So then I did the bright colors. Well, and then, so this is how you could do it. You could stamp with your block on here, have the white edge, but I didn't like the white edge. So that was my problem. And that's where I did this one. I still wasn't loving it. So this is where experimenting comes in, and playing and stuff like that. So this is what I did for this card. We have our piece of watercolor paper. Ooh, I'm gonna lose all my pieces here. Okay, so we've got our watercolor piece of paper. Actually, we don't have watercolor piece. We have butterflies. Okay, so we've got our 2 butterflies. We are going to use our in colors. So for most of you, you've been hearing between Chris and I, we've been talking about in colors. In colors are on sale right now with Stampin' Up! So 15% off in colors. So that means your markers, your cardstock, your ribbon, your gems, but also things that include an in color. So if there's a DSP that has an in color in it, most likely it's on sale. So one of my classes, and we'll talk a little bit about what else is coming up in August in a moment, had Timid Tiger in it, and I'm like, oh, how cool is that? It's on sale. So check out the sale items right now. There's lots of wonderful things going on. Okay, so I'm going to lay my butterflies out roughly the way they'll fit, so I know roughly. Let's do this. I just got to make sure that my block, make sure your block is big enough. So we're going to flip our block over. That should be good. Let's hope. Okay, so we have Darling Duckling, Timid Tiger, and Strawberry Slush. Now I'm going to make a rainbow. So we're going to ink up the top portion of our ink pad in yellow. Then we're going to bring in our Timid Tiger, my favorite in color. And I'm just tapping it on the tip. So I'm just taking this part, I'm not laying it flat, and tipping it. And I'm just gonna make some rows. I'm not going into my yellow because I don't want it to transfer to my ink pad and alter my color. Okay. And then the same thing is gonna happen with my Strawberry Slush, except I could put this one down a little bit more, and then I'll just tap it in, but I don't have my colors completely together. Okay, I should probably, we're gonna do this a little bit different because we're gonna spritz this, and I'm gonna make a mess. So this is where your spritzer is gonna come in handy. And once again, too, each time you do this, it will look different. You will not be able to repeat everything the same, and that is what's great about watercolor. Okay, so I got my spritzer. I'm going to put a little more water in here. Now I don't want this necessarily dripping wet, but you want it wet enough that the colors are gonna start to move together. So I'm gonna take and I'm gonna spritz this. I'm gonna cover up my butterflies, and I'm holding it maybe about a foot away. Now you can see my colors are starting to move on my block, and they're gonna blend and bleed together. I'm gonna move my block around a little bit. Now I'm gonna take this block and I'm going to flip it over and lay it on top of my butterflies. And I'm gonna press on here, make sure that I've got all of my watercolor paper filled with color. And then I'm going to lift it up and carefully peel back my butterflies. And it's dripping and it's making a mess. Now let's say you don't like how intense that color is. It's too bright and bold for you. I love it. But let's say it's too bright and bold. I can go through with my paper towel and lift up some of that color. Like here it's dripping a little bit. I can take my paper towel, lift that up, and lighten that color. I could take my paper towel, here I'll show you guys. I'm gonna lay this on top of my butterfly, and it just lightened it up, and it added some texture to it. So there you go. So you have a softer look. So you can have the intense look, or you can have a softer look. Okay. Let's get this mess out of the way. It's all about messes today. So I'm gonna dry this a little bit. So that one's really easy to do. You just put some color on, find some colors that you like together. Now remember, when you put colors together like that, remember if they're gonna be mixing, what color they will be. So you want colors that will blend together and not give you brown. So the green piece that I showed you used Pool Party, Coastal Cabana, and Shy Shamrock. So you want colors that will complement each other. You could do blues into purple, yellows, oranges, and pinks, pink and purple into blue. So yes, have paper towel, towels handy. To clean up your mess. Okay, so that was the hardest part of this one. And it's not really that hard. So that was what block is this? I have it covered, that's why I can't read it. E block is what I use. So it's larger than the D block, but smaller than our largest block. Okay, so we have strawberry slush here. And now we're gonna layer up our card. So we have Secret C. I said it's the new black. And I'm gonna off center these. And I use that sunflower folder again. I just love this folder. And I'm going to just slightly offset these. Like that. We've got some strawberry slush ribbon. We will bring in So we just layered that on the bottom there. Now we can add this to our card base. There we go. Now we can put our butterfly together. Oh, actually, we're gonna wink a Stella up this beautiful butterfly. And it's easier if I do it off to the side. And I can make a mess on the scratch paper here. So just put a little bit on these thicker areas. Now you could cut apart some dimensionals and have them fit on here also. We'll put a little body on this guy. A little bit of glue right there. Oops. I bent his little antennae. Is that what you call antennae, right? Okay. And so I brought in beautiful butterflies. That's the other stamp set and the dies that I used. We're gonna bring in a happy birthday. And I'm going to stamp it slightly more to my left so that I can put, that's a little crooked, but. Hello, Elizabeth, thank you. And then I'm going to offset, so I have two of the same labels, and I'm just gonna offset them a little bit. So it's gonna show just on one side, and be careful where you put your glue on. I didn't do that when I was slapping glue on just now. So I'm gonna have that go off to the right side. So I just have that little bit peeking over here and on this edge over there. So now time to add our beautiful butterfly. So if you haven't fallen in love with our ink colors, now is the time to fall in love, because I used every one of the ink colors except Cloud Cover, which I did have originally as a base in here, but my husband poo-pooed it. He said, I don't like that. And I said, okay, I'll do something different. So I'm gonna put that on an angle slightly, as long as it fits on your whole card base here. Put our dimensionals on the back of our label. Now, if you guys know me, I love color. So this card right here, well, actually all of these cards, but this color, and I would, yeah, all of them really, never mind. But I love bold, bright colors like this, so totally in love with this card. And then you've got your little butterfly here. It's gonna go on here like that. And then we're gonna bring in a little bit of that strawberry slush ribbon, and we're just gonna tie a little knot. On the edge, like that. And you turn it whichever way it wants to go. It wants to go like that right now, so that's what we're gonna do. Clean up my ends on it a little bit, and then bring in the yellow duckling. So this is the In Color pearls, and they are gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Gorgeous. So I'm going to put one in the center of my little butterfly there. And we'll put one here. And one here. Isn't this beautiful? Da, 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 da. Okay, and for the inside, now you could, I don't have all my re-inkers and stuff, but you could have a baby wipe and put some re-inkers on there to just kind of mimic that butterfly if you wanted to. Yes, I do that a lot. I like to tie, Elizabeth was just saying that she liked to have the knot on there without adding the bulk of a ribbon. So I do that a lot. I do a knot, and a knot's really easy to tie, so sometimes easier than doing a bow. So especially with our thicker ribbons. So we're gonna put Time to Celebrate on here. And then we'll pull our little butterfly out. And I grabbed Strawberry Slush, but it could be the orange, it could be the yellow. Look at that. Ah, ta-da. His love bold color. Okay. Ah, thank you, Tanya. You're so sweet. Da, 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 da. I just had my, we'll just set these aside, and like, I had my cleaning. Oh, here it is. I set it way over here. That doesn't help me. Okay, so for our final card, we're bringing in the sailboats, and we're going to make a beautiful sunset background. So glue this on the inside. Like that. And there we go. So 3 cards done. Like I said, these last 2 are your easier watercolor cards. And for our final one, da, 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 look at this. Gorgeous. Okay, so our final one brings in our watercolor paper. And we will be bringing in Timid Tiger, Lemon Lolly, Berry Burst, and Azure. Yeah, I'm starting to see counters over there, you guys. They're just filled with boxes over here. They probably have nightmares on shipping day. Boxes, boxes, boxes everywhere. So I'm going to add a little lemon. little bit of berry. Azure. And I realized I didn't order any ink refills for these, so there's our timid tiger. Okay. So this is one of those again. I want to use my wider brush. So we're bringing in that wide brush again. Make sure that it's clean, because we did all that green and blue on the other card. Okay, we're gonna wet our paper just like we did in our previous cards. I'm gonna go up and down, back and forth. And now I'm gonna start at the bottom, add a little water to my palette here, and my Azure, keeping it dark at the bottom. I'll zoom in just a little bit for you guys. Did it get blurry? Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna start at the bottom and I'm gonna let the water do the work for this one. So I'm gonna add a little more water because I want it to get lighter as I go. So you're gonna go not quite halfway. I would say maybe a third of the way up. Add a little more water, a little more Azure. I want this really kind of intense down here. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush off. I'm going to soften this just a little bit right here. Okay, so you want to make sure there's no more blue on your brush. Okay, so now I'm going to go through, wet this a little bit again, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space between my yellow and my blue, because what happens when we mix yellow and blue together, we're going to get green, and I don't really want a green sky. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, bring it down. There we go. Now, if these colors all mix together, that's great. Our next color, we're going to add our little timid tiger. So look at that. So we got some stripes going on. And I want my timid tiger and my yellow to blend. So I'm going to go through with some water and soften it. And I'm going to add a little more yellow where the orange and the yellow overlap. Okay, now Berry Burst is a really bold color, so add some water. Make sure your brush is clean. Just take a little bit of your Berry Burst, wipe it off a little bit, and then put it on. And you can keep adding as much color as you want, depending on the intensity that you want in your background. Okay, wipe that off, and I want a little more blending going on. You see that little white line? So I'm going to take my timid tiger and I'm going to take my Berry Burst and kind of blend them together and tap it in here. Tap a little bit of that orange in there to get some intensity. I like big bold color. You could do it really, really soft and keep it more pastel-y, but I like the bold colors. So I'm making sure my brush is clean. Go through with that yellow over the orange where they meet up. And there we go. There's our background. That's how simple that is. And if it's too bold, let's say you don't like all this berry burst on here, wet it a little bit and blot it with your paper towel. But I like it like that, okay? So we'll get all of this out of the way. So that's it, simple background. Now, let's say you didn't want to make a sunset. You could take one color and just make a wash in the background and just have that as your background. But here it is. I'm going to dry it. Gotta dry my workspace a little bit here. So I was just taking my brush back and forth and letting the colors blend. Adding more color where I wanted intensity. Using my heat tool, for those of you that are just popping on, using my heat tool to dry it because I don't have time to let everything just air dry. But make sure that you flip your paper back and forth, front and back, and heat both sides of your paper. That'll help it keep from curling. Okay, so now we're going to bring in Sunrise Sailing. And we have this piece here for water. Bring in my scratch piece of paper here. Yes, Tanya, you could easily too, one thing, I taught this at a demonstrator event too. You could have this rainbow piece, and we have the stamp set called Layered Thoughts, really big, bold sentiments. You could stamp that big sentiment, let's say in black, or heat emboss in white over the top of this, put this on a card base, and it would be a beautiful card just like that also. And I need my Azure ink pad. So I've got this water piece here. We're inking it up, and we're going to create some movement with our water. So we're going to go full strength on the bottom here, and then I'm going to bring it up a little bit and do second strength, and I'm just going to keep going up till I've got no more blue left on my paper. So I just created some waves in our water, so you can see that movement. It got darker and it went lighter and lighter, just like with our color. We had it more intense down here and worked our way up and got it lighter. Let's see if I can find all my pieces here. They dumped out of my card before. So we're bringing in our sailboats. Now in the kits, I have these little tiny birds cut for you. So you can put these on, but I'm going to stamp my birds on since I have the stamp set here. So, you know, some people were confused about how to do these sailboats. This one's really easy to do. You're just going to lay this over the top like this. So you've got these two pieces. Gonna lay this there. And this goes over the top of it. Oops. I slid that one right off. There we go. So then adhere this to your card base. In the center here. And I didn't burnish my edges. Now the purpose of burnishing your edges, it lets your card lay a little bit flatter instead of wanting to pop open. Then I'm going to add, oh no, I'm going to glue this one down. I was going to add dimensionals to my frame, but I'm going to just glue it down. And that's going to go a little glue down here, so I'll have to take my glue eraser and get some of that tackiness off. So now, all you're gonna do, now the rest is all easy. It's smooth sailing from here. If I can find my, there we go, as long as I can find my little dimensionals. So I'm gonna pop up the big boat. Now, I should have probably done this first, but I didn't. I did tell everyone in class first. What I did when I stamped my boats, you guys will have die cuts in your kit, but when I stamped my birds, I should say, I just laid these down here where I roughly wanted everything, and then I stamped my birds. That way, in case I screwed up, I didn't ruin my whole card. So let's hope that I don't ruin my whole card today. We'll do that, and then we'll glue this one down because this one's off in the distance. We're going to pop up our sunshine. Like that, and then there's a little bird in here. Okay, and my secret C. And I'm just gonna stamp one here. And stamp one here. There we go. Then for the inside of my card, I'm not going to put a sentiment. I don't know what I want this to be for. It could be a retirement card, could be a birthday card, it could be a whatever kind of card. Where did here we go. I was like looking for the water here. So we've got our water. I'm going to stamp some water on the bottom. First strength, second strength, kind of third strength there. And just kind of stamping all over just to give some water on the bottom of my card. Add a sentiment. Stamp on the inside. So this has been a longer class than normal. I had some really great stuff to show you in the beginning. Some of the new goodies that are coming your way. And I've got a few updates here, so if you'll just hang on with me for a little bit longer. So here are our 4 cards from today. All using watercoloring. So kits are available for this class. You have until next week, Wednesday, the 20th, to order your kits. Kits are $22 plus shipping. If you would like your kit shipped with a package with Christine, she's shipping out now, so it wouldn't go out till your September kit. Those of you who are coming for the Escape in September, you can also receive it there, so you don't have to pay shipping. You get porch pickup. So reach out. As always, guys, make sure you're following my Facebook page, Glitter and Ink with Gina. There is where I kind of keep everything. That's where all the updates go. If I'm running late for a video, I'm going to post it on Facebook. If you have any questions, always feel free. You can message me on Facebook. You can email me at ginaalbulo@gmail.com. So I have that. So we have this class coming up. Next week I'm going to kind of do a double not next week, the week after. I forget, we have kind of an extra week in here. So next week, we're doing something a little bit different. I do the scrapbook workshop classes every month, and those classes involve 6 alternative pages and 5 cards that we create with the workshop kit. I'm doing something a little bit different. I kind of feel like I use the kits up that in the catalog that we've done so far, and we're kind of in that in-between stage of waiting for the next catalog, so you guys can't order the new stuff until September. So someone had showed interest in making one of our 6x8 albums using the pocket pages. So that is what we're doing. We're using the Celebration Expressions Memories and More kit. I'm gonna pop that up for you guys so you can see that. I will get, I don't remember what the details were. I kind of figured out, you'll need to do an order for that class, and with that order you'll need to order the Memories and More and the pocket pages, and I always supply an extra kit to go with your order. So you will get card bases from me, you will get photo mats, you will get ribbon, you will also get gems with that order from me. You have to place that order with me though. Celebration, I can't type and talk at the same time. I should say spell. Okay, so this is what it is. It's this card pack here, and it's on sale because it has Timid Tiger in it. So you get 4x6s. Oops, I gotta show you guys my phone. You get 4x6s and oops, 3x4s. You get a pack of these, and they have different designs in them. And then we're gonna create a pocket page album like this. So we're going to create an entire album, and like I said, I'm going to include extra stuff for you. So look out for those details as far as cost goes. I don't remember what I came up with. So usually it's a $70 order, and with that order you need to order these and the pocket pages and the album. It might be a little bit less, I think, this time, but I have that coming up next week. And then I am also doing in person and online next weekend. So I keep saying next weekend, but it's really the weekend of the 23rd and 24th. We are doing a fall card buffet. Fall card buffet includes 6 cards. Those of you who are taking it online and want kits, you can, oops, I lost you guys for a second. There we go. Those of you who want kits, and you get all 6 cards. Those of you who come in person, you get to pick and choose your cards and how many of each card you want to make. So, you know, there's a price for if you want 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards, 6 cards, or more. So you can make 6 of one card, you can make 2 of one and 1 of another. Completely up to you when we do that in person. So that is coming up. I have eliminated for now the monthly scrapbook page class, so that's just my 2-page layout. It's not as popular as the workshop classes. The workshop classes are definitely, people have gone more to that than doing that. So with eliminating that, I am bringing you guys some other classes. We're gonna do it gives me the opportunity to do different things with you guys. So like I said, I'm able to get in another card buffet. We're gonna do some home decor stuff that's going to be coming up for this fall. So we're going to do some samplers and some other things like that. I think we're going to start incorporating some three-dimensional projects like making boxes as we're coming up on kind of, I feel like, the gift giving season. Halloween little treat boxes are coming up. Christmas, I like to do little boxes and put candy and things like that in with a gift card for some of my godchildren and nieces and nephews for Christmas. So we're gonna do kind of some different stuff like that. I started incorporating that. So look for that. So note that when you look at the calendar for the rest of the year, some of that stuff is going to be changing. Working on compiling an email together to kind of give you guys the updates on that. But as far as seeing the events and knowing what's going on and what it is, it's going to be posted on Facebook. That's the place I go to. So keep watching me on Facebook there, because that's where I tend to go first, and then the other stuff will come later. So look for those changes. And if there's something that you guys would like to see, especially as the holidays are coming up and different classes, like I said, I've had some few people reach out and they're like, oh, would you be interested in doing this class or that class? And absolutely. So I'm always open to ideas. So if there's something you guys would love to see be made and be taught, I would be more than happy to do that. So just send me an email or make a comment or something like that on one of my videos. So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you guys kind of weathering this longer class today, because we had a lot of detail to go through with these watercolor cards. So I will be live next, I believe it's, don't quote me. I will for sure be here on Friday, the 22nd, for the album class. I have morning create class where we make 3 cards. For some reason, I feel like that's the 18th, but it could be the 25th. So I don't have my calendar in front of me. So anyways, look for all those details. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Thanks.